All right, if I'm talking quickly outside this Walmart, it's freezing, like literally, like freezing is too hot of a word actually. I'll check in editing what the temperature is. I don't even think it's above 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyway, shout out to either Joe, Parker, or Randall. My guess would be Parker, but I don't know. Guy I was just playing at the same table with from the Sioux Falls area, wearing the '99 Braves World Series hat. Didn't catch your name, but I know it has to be one of those 3 names. What are these sounds? I don't know. But anyway, it's really cold, so I gotta go quickly. 17th installment of this type of series. First comment is, if I remember it, why do you keep making excuses on why you aren't playing? I don't know. This guy's life revolves around waiting for the holidays when I say I don't play much, and then he asks me why I don't play a lot of poker. Interesting, he said this in a video in which I drove 6 hours and stopped in 2 poker rooms. I don't know if he could have picked a worse video to say that. I actually thought that day I went out of my way making excuses to play poker, but he needs to be miserable, so he had to say that and make no sense. Stay tuned though. I think his best friend left comment number 4. Second comment, 8 billion people don't watch your vlog, you broke hobo, but you're crying about not being nominated for awards for your inferior vlogs. Other vlogs are more popular, putting out lazy, poor quality vlogs daily impresses nobody. Okay, so this wasn't the first thing he said. He said something, and like in the green at the end when he says nobody, and you're like, I don't know why these people, I really don't get why these people can't just talk for themselves. They need to talk for the entirety of the planet. And I said like, I don't know, he said like, nobody likes you or something like that, something stupid. And I said like, really? You asked like all 8 billion people in the last like 5 minutes and they all answered? I said something like that. So that's why he started off with the blue, 8 billion people. I don't think he understood why I used that number. The yellow is part of his problem. He'll never understand why that's a great compliment that he's calling me a broke hobo. The brighter blue with the black letters, that was interesting. Interesting choice of words. That he thinks I'm crying about not winning GPI awards, because this tweet is him crying. I noticed I wasn't a finalist in any of the GPI award categories. I think he really overestimated how much I cared about that. He seems to think I cared any amount, and I care not at all. I noticed. I didn't care. They're not the same thing. It's also interesting, just the whole last line. He says nobody's impressed by this. Oh, he's very impressed by this. You need to be massively impressed by the channel and the streak in order to watch so much that you know what's going on, and follow me on Twitter just to see if it doesn't happen because you hate me and you hate poker and you hate my brand. Like, 90% of what I say on Twitter relates to baseball. If you're following me on Twitter just to be mad about anything I say related to Vegas or poker, that's like a really, really low level of existence, but the focus of your life is the channel. Whether you tell people you like it or not, you really, really like it. If this guy wanted to convince me that he wasn't impressed and he hated me and the channel, he should not subscribe on YouTube, not watch my YouTube videos and know anything about the channel, never comment on YouTube, don't follow me on Twitter, never say anything to me on Twitter. People who do those 5 things, I believe, are unimpressed and don't care at all about me, poker, or my channel. When people like him start doing all of those things, they care a lot. All right, this one was interesting. So let me read it here and make room. Okay, this was when I said in one of the pet peeve videos, I said I don't like when people like raise to 9, 14, 21, amounts that make more work for the dealer. So this guy says raising to $9 specifically in late position is smart. In a 1-3 game, when only the big blind calls, you will be at a $19 pot, which is below the first dollar rake taken. When you raise to 15, you are at 31, which is still only $1 taken, but for a smaller percentage. Anyone who raises $10 is a moron. All right, very long-winded. He's not into the whole brevity thing. Anyway, strong words that he's calling anyone a moron who raises to 10 when it's the same thing. Whether you raise to 9 or 10 and you win the pot in this guy's dream scenario, you add the same amount of money to your stack. So for some reason, This guy plays in games where all the time people are folding to the button. He raises whatever amount he wants. He knows that the small blind folds and the big blind calls, because if it were the opposite, the small blind calling and the big blind folding, this wouldn't be exactly the case, and you would be crossing rake thresholds and money would be coming out of the pot. But no, he knows for a fact the small blind's going to call in advance, the small blind will fold in advance, and the big blind will call. But here's the math. Let's go to the other side. So you could see, because I use the same font and the same color. In this dream scenario of his, he raises the button to 9. The small blind folds 1. The big blind calls 9. $19 in the pot. Okay. In his game, I also don't know anywhere in the world where the first rake dollar is taken at 20, but that's what he said. So there's no rake. He c-bets the flop and the other guy folds, because we're not getting all in these scenarios. He's talking about these tiny numbers, and he's really concerned about how much money he makes in these small pots. So the other guy checks the flop, he bets the flop, the other guy folds. He wins a $19 pot. 9 of those dollars were his. He adds 10 to his stack. Now he called anyone a moron who would raise to 10. Let's do that. He raises to 10 on the button. Everyone folded to him. He raises to 10 on the button. The small blind folds the 1. The big blind calls 10. $21 in there. $1 is taken at 20. So a $21 pot, $1 is taken in rake. The guy checks the flop, he c-bets, he wins. So a $20 pot is pushed to him, and 10 of them were his. He adds the exact same $10 to his stack. He's calling people morons, and he can't work out the first grade math that says if you raise to 9 or 10, you add the same amount to your stack in this scenario. The bigger problem for this guy, besides the fact that he can't add and subtract, is that you have much bigger problems. Like, instead of worrying about trying to kind of save a dollar that doesn't really exist in reality, why don't you go to games where this hand doesn't happen? If people are constantly folding to the button, and the button can raise to single digits and get heads up and win at will with a c-bet, and pots are never getting beyond $19, that's a terrible game. Change games, change stakes, change casinos, change cities. I've changed states in the same day looking for a good game. Do any of those things besides sit in that game where you're just seeing $19 pots all day. But it is actually like really freezing. My hands are actually starting to freeze, so I gotta go inside. All right, I'm inside. I can see in the camera how red my face is. This is how cold it's been. I have the vent open, if I could get it. It's usually closed, so the hot air doesn't really get to me. It's actually been so cold, I've been leaving it open. I'll get it later. It has to be really cold for me to actually want hot air coming into my room. Anyway, last one. Gonna have to go to the side over here. Wow, your work ethic is something else. Perhaps you should think about taking a few days off. You've definitely earned it. Everywhere I look, I see healthcare workers, construction workers, electric utility workers, daycare workers, long-haul truckers, and so many others that are going on their 7th or 8th week of holiday break. Mad respect, bro. Okay, a few things. Guess this guy's friends with the first guy who, I don't know, they seem to, their sole focus in life seems to be acting like I'm lazy. The yellow is interesting. No chance this guy lives in Manhattan, because you would not see construction workers or people who work for the electric company doing anything. Doesn't happen. You see the construction workers smoking, eating, and standing, and you just never see the people who work for Con Ed. Doesn't happen. It's like seeing a unicorn. So if you want to know where this guy lives, definitely not Manhattan, or he's a liar. Blue was just weird. I just picture him like looking out binoculars and just like looking at employees. I don't know. It was a weird syntax he used for all this. But the bigger picture, I wish I had 8 weeks off. I could really use 8 weeks off. I remember continuing to make a daily YouTube video, which this guy watches every one. I guess he thinks they're made by magic. I remember adding a weekly short and not missing a week. I remember continuing to make my newsletter over the holiday break once a month. And I remember continuing to make my free Monday Patreon post. Haven't missed a Monday. So, in addition to that, went on 2 poker road trips, played poker in 8 poker rooms in 4 states. I guess all that to him is a vacation. I doubt his life actually has more going on than all that. But it's interesting. Him, the guy who, the first comment, that guy, there are other people who say similar things. Radio silence when I do something like play 100 hours in 10 days. You'll never hear from them when I play 250 hours in 25 days. When I lead Council Bluffs in hours played in June 2022, they never said a word. When I deal 46 of 50 days at Orleans, they'll never say anything like this. When didn't I play like enough hours to qualify for like 4 promotions, and on top of that just add hours at Red Rock? I had like 5 things, the criteria challenge last year. I had like 5 things I had to do over like 10 days, which included way too many hours at Westgate because I got bad information from the floor. There was like a 16-hour day in there to make sure I qualified for everything. Barely slept, played the Bally's free roll, then played all my Red Rock hours in one night. You'll never hear a word from them when I do things like that, but they mark on their calendars December when it's not a secret. I don't play as much as the rest of the year, and then they say things like this because the misery forces them to. And remember, rice is a spoon food.